2012, one man walked into a boardroom and said a single sentence, and that sentence handed $19 billion to two founders Facebook had already rejected. The man who said it wasn't Steve Jobs. It wasn't Elon Musk either. It was a BlackBerry CEO you probably never heard of. And he didn't destroy the company with incompetence. He destroyed it with one decision. Here is the question nobody asks. If iPhone was launched in 2007, why was BlackBerry still winning 2 years later? In 2009, BlackBerry wasn't dying. In fact, it was winning. At its peak, BlackBerry had 85 million subscribers, half of US smartphone market. Obama refused to give his phone up. Kim Kardashian carried 3 of them. Pitbull was rapping about his BBM blowing up. But here's what the history books skip. The phone was never the point. BlackBerry had a weapon, something so powerful, so ahead of time, that 2 engineers later built a knockoff version of that and sold it for $19 billion. That weapon had a name, BBM. BlackBerry Messenger launched in 2005. Think about that for a second. Read receipts, blue ticks, group chats, instant delivery, and all of those in 2005. WhatsApp didn't even launch until 2009. 4 years later, copying every single feature. By 2011, BBM had around 45 million active users. It was faster than SMS and free. It ran on private encrypted server that BlackBerry controlled, not a messaging app, a private internet. Alright, so here's the question that should be haunting you right now. If BBM was so powerful in 2011, why does WhatsApp exist? To answer that, you need to meet 2 men. Mike Lazaridis, the engineer, the one who built all from scratch, the BlackBerry, the BBM servers, the encryption layer that made governments paranoid and president addicted, and Jim Balsillie, the salesman, the one who took the invention and turned it into a $40 billion empire. On paper, it was genius. In reality, it was a ticking time bomb. Lazaridis believed the product was sacred. You protect it, you don't dilute it. But Balsillie believed the product was a door. You open it as wide as it goes. For years, the tension was manageable. The company grew. The empire expanded. Then a scandal exposed everything. And what they did sounded almost too simple. When companies give its executives stock options, the price is supposed to be locked on the day it's granted. But they didn't do that. They went back in time, picked days when the stock price was lower, and pretended the option were granted then. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine a stock is worth $100 today, but 8 years ago it was $50. What they did was grant stock options to their own executives, but secretly priced at the old $50 rate. So the executives could buy shares at $50 and immediately sell them at $100, pocketing the difference as pure profit. And they didn't do it once. They repeated it again and again for 8 years, across around 1,400 grants, all hidden from the investors until regulators finally caught it. The result was a $77 million settlement, one of the biggest in Canadian security history. The board fractured, and the trust between these 2 men, which is already fragile, completely shattered. Here is what nobody told you about the scandal. It didn't just damage their reputation, it destroyed one relationship that could save the whole company. January 2007, Steve Jobs walks on stage, and BlackBerry Laughs. Publicly, Balsillie called it a niche product. Lazaridis mocked the battery life in interviews. The company moved on like nothing happened. But some people who worked closely with Lazaridis during that period say privately he understood the threat, even if he never admitted it publicly. Whether he watched the keynote alone and felt the floor shift beneath him, or laughed right along everyone else, nobody knows. What we know is what he said publicly, and what we know is what happened next. Because the company had won too many times, had crushed too many rivals, had made a sitting president refuse to give up their keyboard, former employees had a name for it: the institutional arrogance, the belief that the future will always look like the same as the past. And while BlackBerry was busy laughing at Apple, someone inside the company was already drawing up a plan that, if they had executed it, would have changed the entire history of communication. So why didn't they do it? Well, someone at least tried. Jim Balsillie called it SMS 2.0. Open BBM to every phone on Earth, iPhone, Android, Nokia, every device, every carrier, every country. And then go to AT&T, Verizon, Vodafone and offer to replace SMS entirely. BlackBerry wouldn't just be a phone company anymore. It would be the global messaging infrastructure. Every text, every deal, every I love you sent between two people anywhere on the planet, running through BlackBerry servers. In 2011, when this plan was still on the table, WhatsApp had only 10 million users. BBM had around 45 million. The window was wide open. So here's the only question that matters. Why didn't they do it? January 2012, a new CEO sits at the head of the BlackBerry boardroom, Thorsten Heinz. Nobody knew him then, but everyone would blame him later. Jim Balsillie slides a document across the table. SMS 2.0. Open BBM to every iPhone, every Android, every person on the planet with a phone. Carriers are already interested. BBM still has more users than WhatsApp. Then Mike Lazaridis speaks. One sentence. If BBM works on iPhones, why would anyone buy a BlackBerry? The room goes quiet. Heinz nods. The vote takes 6 minutes. SMS 2.0 is dead. Balsillie stands up, walks out, and resigns. Now here's where it gets insane. At the exact same moment, two engineers, Jan Quom and Brian Acton, just got rejected for a job at Facebook. No callback, nothing. So they built a simple messaging app inspired by BBM, open to everyone, locked to no one. They call it WhatsApp. 18 months, 450 million users. Then Facebook came back, not with a job offer, with $19 billion. BlackBerry? In 2013, 1 year later, they finally launched BBM cross-platform. 1 year too late. It never crossed 100 million users. WhatsApp had already won. One sentence in one boardroom in 6 minutes didn't just kill a strategy. It handed the future of human communication and $19 billion to two men that their biggest competitor wouldn't even hire. In 2016, BlackBerry stopped making phones. BBM shut down in 2019. The company that invented modern messaging didn't believe in it enough to share it. And this isn't the only time a single decision changed everything. The same pattern played out in Nokia. But they didn't end the same way. They had a secret weapon. Check out this video and subscribe if you love stories like this.